Hey, what's up everybody? This is Jordan from PictureMonk.com and welcome to episode 57 of the PictureMonk Photography Podcast. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, again, I have changed my surroundings. I thought it would be fun to just keep moving in different places around the house to see what works better. So now I'm in my little kitchen dining room area, sitting at my table, my dining room table, and as you can see behind me, there are a creepy pair of eyes that I can actually see on the camera. I knew this might be an issue, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to do it. There's a painting behind me, really creepy painting. It's my wife's painting. Let's just leave it at that. So here, what we're going to do in this episode is go over more user questions because, like I said in the last episode, I have a bunch of them. So I want to go ahead and work through those. But I also want to say a quick thank you to those of you who have filled out the podcast survey that I have. You can go to picturemonk.com/podcast survey. And you can fill that out there if you haven't already. But thank you for those who have. I'm reading over the stuff now, and I'm trying to implement most of the stuff that you guys said over the next coming podcast. So thank you very much for doing that. So let's go and get into the news here. The news this week, which is kind of a cool article that I found on Petapixel. If you don't follow Petapixel on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, I think they have a Twitter. If you don't follow them all on those social media networks, you really, really should. They have a lot of cool articles, and this one I thought was really fun. Most of the time they show you like some cool things that are happening. This one, it was kind of a look back at somebody's articles that they have written and photos that they posted from when they first started. And the article is called "Photographers Go Away." And so what the catch on that one is photographers. So it's FAUX photographers, so meaning fake photographers. So it's a really good read. And actually, in the very beginning of the article, the guy posted the Urban Dictionary definition of a photographer, and I'm going to read that for you real quick right here. The definition of that is a person that claims to be a good photographer when in reality they just set their camera to automatic mode and start shooting. This person also happens to fumble over photography terms and has no knowledge of terms or switches the color mode to monochrome and calls it artistic no matter what the hell is in the frame. And basically what they were talking about is we've all done this. Depending on how long you've been shooting, some of you may be here and thinking that you're making some of the best stuff ever. And you're not making some of the best stuff ever unless you have been shooting for many, 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 many years, and you're still not there. So what this guy was talking about was where he did a infant shoot, a baby shoot, for somebody, and when he booked the shoot, he charged $15 an hour for the shoot, and looking back, that was not enough, but it was probably more than what he should have been doing since this was his first shoot. And he basically just, looked on the internet how to do poses, what he should have, and they said he needed a hairdryer for a baby shoot. He didn't know what it's for, but he had one. And so he just had a pink point and shoot camera. And he just kind of details that whole shoot. And I thought it was a really fun read. So I'm going to link that in the show notes. So if you guys want to go check that out, picturemonk.com/PMP057, you can check that out. And, just have a fun read, and kind of makes you think. It just makes you kind of look at your stuff. And, this is where I'm going to kind of challenge you guys to, when you're on the Facebook account here, or, if you want to send them to me personally by my email, picturemonk@gmail.com, or if you want to just post them on any of my social media networks. I want to see, if you've been shooting for a while, I want to see what you guys have been shooting then and now. And so that's what the guy put in the end of the article there was his before and afters from stuff that he's been shooting a long time ago and opposed to now. So I'd like to see what you guys have been doing. So take the most awesome photo that you thought that you had a long time ago and post that to a photo that you've now, and just kind of see how much you've learned. So I just challenge you guys to do that. That'd be a really cool, fun thing. All right, so that was it. That was it for the photography news. So I'm going to jump right into the questions here, and I'm going to start this out with one person in particular who submitted 3 different questions, 3 different emails all in a row. So I'm gonna highlight them real quick, and their name is Jessica Avery from Sydney, Australia. And so let's go ahead and see what she wrote here. I'm probably just going to read all of them real quick and just kind of answer them. So the first one is, can you give me any tips on portrait photography and wedding photography? I will be shooting my first mini portrait session next weekend, and anything out can provide, I guess, anything you can provide me will be helpful. That's the first question. The next one is, how do I promote my new business as a portrait photographer? And the third one is, should I use my on-camera flash? She put one camera. Should I use my on-camera flash when taking photos of people? Most of my photos will be outside, so I might not need it. All right, first question. Any tips on portrait photography? You probably just need to Google, try to Google some stuff. Since you've already booked your mini session, you can't really take that back. But what I would have done is shop for family. You may have done this before, like I detail on a bunch of other podcasts. Shoot for family, shoot for friends. Don't charge them anything. Just build up your skills. Since you already have the shoot, I'd just Google a whole bunch and look at different poses. Save them on your phone. Print them out if you have to, and just kind of go from there. Before you shoot, you said next weekend, so hopefully I caught you before this past weekend. But take something out in the backyard. Take anything out in the backyard. It could be a bottle of wine. It could be, anything. Take it out in the backyard and practice thinking that is your subject. And then you play around with the settings. See what you need to do in manual mode to achieve the photos that you want. If these are the photos that are going to be outside, you can probably just get away real quick with just do a down and dirty shoot in aperture priority mode. Got something in my eye there. Aperture priority mode, and set your aperture to the lowest aperture you have. Probably going to have a kit lens or something similar to that. So f 3.5, somewhere around there. Set it to the lowest aperture and let it choose the auto ISO, because I'm assuming you're a beginner. That's why I'm giving you these instructions. Set it to auto ISO. Most likely if it's outside, it's going to be 100, 200, somewhere around there. And just let it pick your shutter speed of what it needs to be. That way you don't have to worry about settings, and you can just go ahead and snap the photos and just concentrate on composition, getting more creative with your photos, and then take them in to edit later. Hopefully you have a good edit suite to do that with, Lightroom or Photoshop. If you don't, then hopefully your camera is good enough with picture styles to where you can just hand them the JPEGs and it'll be done. But since it's a mini session, those usually only last like 30 minutes to an hour, so you might be okay with that. So that's kind of what I give you right now. If you had more time, I would definitely tell you to take it slow and just kind of go a little slower and learn more about photography before you push yourself out there. So let's see. The next one that you answered, or you asked me for, was, how do I promote my new business as a photographer, portrait photographer? Right now, I would not promote yourself, because if you're asking these questions, you're probably an amateur. I would still concentrate on doing side work. But if you get to that point down the road, first of all, website, obviously that's a common thing that everybody needs to have to put your portraits out there. Pinterest is a big one. I would definitely use Pinterest for this service. Take some cool portraits that you got and crop them into kind of a real long vertical image, and put some text on top of it saying portrait services or something like that, and then pop it out on Pinterest, link it back to your page, and so you reel them in with the photo, and then they click on it and they can go to your page. It might not work every time, but the more you put out there, the more you get. Google listings is a major thing. That's how I've been getting a lot of business for my real estate stuff. That plus a couple other things, but doing a Google listing is definitely a must. So go ahead and pop that out there, verify your address, tell them your area of service, and you'll eventually pop up on the ratings. And print off some cool flyers, put some photos on there, and just pop them everywhere. It's kind of guerrilla marketing, but it does work. So I would definitely do stuff like that. And also, if you do good work, word of mouth is going to really just help you out. Let's see, what else is the next question? Should I use my on-camera flash? Yes, you should not use your on-camera flash, especially when taking outside. I would definitely recommend a off-camera flash, or even well, an off-camera flash would be a speed light, but I would definitely recommend a speed light. If you have time to play with it, order it and play with it off like Amazon, get 2-day shipping or something. Play with it before you shoot. Don't use your on-camera flash. It's gonna especially if you're outside. There's no need for it. So don't use your on-camera flash, and try to get a good speed light. I'm gonna link the speed light that I usually recommend in the show notes of this episode. So go ahead and do that. I'm actually gonna make a note while I'm here. There we go. So I'm going to definitely recommend that in the show notes. So go check that out there if you're wanting to get into that kind of lighting setup. Judging by your other questions, you probably don't need to do that now, but it would be nice to play around with that. So Jessica Avery from Sydney, Australia, thank you very much for your questions. So let's go get on to the rest of y'all. Y'all is a southern thing. Let's see. This might be a weird question, but how do I photograph whales? I am going on a whale watching trip. Wow, that's messed up really bad. I'm going on a whale watching trip to get some cool shots. Dan Portland from Los Angeles, California. That is a very strange question. I imagine it's like sports photography because it's fast moving. If they're coming up out of the water a little bit, I'm sure they're not going to splash and do like Shamu stuff, but if they're coming up out of the water, you want to make sure you're fast enough to catch the action. One thing that I did find that is a very cool thing, depending on the type of travel service or the whale watching service that you're using, if it's a smaller boat and you have a GoPro, I would definitely recommend getting a extension pole. It can even be a monopod for your GoPro. Attach your GoPro and stick the GoPro in the water. And that way you can see the whales. You can actually get video and photos if you wanted to of the whales under the water. I saw a video, it's probably a year ago, where a guy was testing out the GoPros, and I think it was the GoPro Hero 4 when it originally came out or something like that. He was testing the GoPro and he took it around and did some cool stuff and shot some boating stuff, and one of the ones was a dolphin thing. And he took his GoPro real quick and shoved it in the water. The boat was still moving, so it was kind of dragging back a little bit. And the GoPro caught the dolphins going up and out of the water. It was just a really cool video. I don't think I'll be able to find it because it was a very long time ago, but take my word for it. It's a very cool video. So I wish I would have done that or I wish I could do that if I had the opportunity. But I would definitely recommend that if you have somebody going with you. Maybe they can hold the pole in the water and you take photos and stuff like that. So just kind of think outside the box here. If you just want to get photos, just pretend it's sports photography and make sure you got a fast enough shutter speed, basically. But yeah, that's a really weird question to zero in on whales. So thanks, Dan, for the question. And let's move on to the next one. Will you be putting out more presets from April 199KP? Yes, I will be putting out more presets. They will be probably close to the end of the year. That's when they usually are. I have my collection of presets. But if you are following me on the YouTube channel, PictureMonk.com/YouTube, you'll be able to get cool presets every once in a while where I do the mimic stuff, where I take a photo offline and I try to mimic the editing style of that photo, and then I just give away the preset for free. So April, if you are not following me on YouTube, go check that out there, and you can get some cool presets. I don't do it every week, just because I'm trying to space it out a little bit, but I do have some, and you can download the past ones there. So if you go to PictureMonk.com and click under the Mimic tab, I believe under Categories Mimic, you can see all the past ones and download them there. So thank you, April, for your question. The next one is from a Tucker Nelson. And Tucker says, do you believe in mentoring and workshops for photographers? I would like to do both, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. Workshops are fun. I would definitely recommend workshops if they're not crazy expensive. If it's like $1,000 to go on a 2-day trip or something, I don't care what photographer it is, it's probably not worth it. I would rather take the $1,000 and go on a road trip somewhere and get photos for myself, not be in a group of 800 people or something like that. It just kind of depends on the workshop. But yeah, I do think workshops are fun depending on the workshop. If you happen to be going to a place like the Himalayan mountains or something like that, if you happen to be going to a place like that and they are hosting a workshop there, and it's relatively inexpensive, most likely if it's in the Himalayas, it won't be expensive, or it will be expensive. But if you're already going to be there and they have a workshop, that's probably worth it. Mentoring, yeah, I kind of think mentoring is fun. How I think of mentoring for this kind of service is you always have somebody on call if you need help with stuff. It's not like we're a 1-800 hotline for photography emergencies. I don't even think that's even a thing. So if it's something like where they advertise you have unlimited access to whoever you're trying to get in touch with and will answer your question within 10 minutes or something like that, to me that's a little overkill. What I do think, which I am going to be trying to roll out here fairly soon, is called a one-on-one service, and basically all it is where you I don't know what I'm going to charge. It's not going to be anything crazy, but basically you get me for 30 minutes to an hour, and I can answer any questions that you want face to face meaning Skype, face to face, and we can just sit and have a talk and have a chat. I can help you edit photos. We can edit photos together. That sort of thing. I think it'll be fun. It's not going to be crazy expensive because I don't think it's technically something that's strenuous. So I'm not going to charge an arm and a leg for something that I don't think is that crazy. So that's something that I'm going to try to roll out, just because I think some of these questions are looking like they're beginner questions, and I want to be able to help you guys out as much as possible. I'm still going to answer your questions even if you email them. It's just going to take me a little bit more time. So if you want questions answered really quick and you want more than just a question, then that'll be the kind of thing that you got going on. But again, I give away a lot of stuff for free, so we're still going to be friends, even if you guys don't take me up on it. So Tucker, thank you for that question. And we got one more question after this one. So the second to the last question. This one is from a Andrew S. from New York, New York. City so nice, they named it twice. He didn't put that, I did. Let's see. I am starting a product photography project for school, and my instructor always tells me to tether my camera to the computer. Why would you tether? Wouldn't it just limit creativity? Andrew, if you're doing product photography where, you basically put the product. So I have this cup right here. I know how I want this cup to be placed. I know it's going to be right here in the center, and then I'm going to build lighting around it and do all that kind of stuff. My camera won't need to move that much. It might need to move a little bit to compensate for, maybe there's a light hitting and you want to move it a little bit just to accent something else. But it's not going to be able to move that much. There's really no use for that. So to me, it would actually give you more creativity because you don't have to worry about, going down low to get an angle, going up high to try to get some other angle and all this kind of stuff. You lock in on that, and you're allowed to concentrate on other things, like maybe creative lighting is kind of a cool thing to where you want to accent certain spots. You want to put more props around there. You don't have to worry about anything. You can just worry about the composition and the lighting and all that kind of stuff. Obviously you can still tether and keep your camera in hand and not on a tripod or anything. But another thing that is really good about tethering is as soon as you click the photo, boom, it's on the computer. It's on a big screen, depending on, what kind of screen you have. It's on a big screen. You can see if you got your focus right. You can see, exactly where lights are hitting. You can see everything. You can see the detail to make sure that you're spot on everything. And so to me, it would be really helpful for that. When I was doing a couple photography projects for school, kind of like you, I was taking photos and I was tethered, and there's a couple things I missed comparing when I wasn't tethered. And so I'm glad I was, so I can see it on a 27-inch iMac or a 24-inch iMac. I can see it on a 24-inch iMac opposed to a 3-inch screen. So it actually helped out a lot, and I'm glad I did on specifically one of my last projects, because my focus was extremely off when I thought I had the photo, and I ended up popping it back on the computer and looking at it. I was like, whoa, that's not right. Thankfully, I had enough time to go back in there and reshoot it, and I tethered that time to make sure everything was good. So the only thing that sucked is I had to reset up all the lights and everything, but whatever. But yeah, I would definitely, especially if your instructor tells you to, I mean, gosh, you want the grade. So go ahead and tether it up, and just kind of don't concentrate on tethering and keeping a cord next to you. It's not that big of a deal. Concentrate on the lighting and the focus and the composition and all that kind of stuff. So definitely, I would recommend tethering for that. If you're doing other types of photography, you really probably don't need it. Let's see your last question here. This one's kind of a simple one. Do you have any tripods you recommend? I think I've covered this before. Do you have any tripods you recommend? I was looking on Amazon and it was overwhelming how much stuff they have there. From Samson441. I do recommend tripods. If you go to PictureMonk.com/gear, I believe that's what it is. If you go there, you'll see a page there where I list out cameras, tripods, accessories, bags, all that kind of stuff. Just stuff that I recommend, and hardly any of it's really expensive. There's many options in there, but depending on what you want, they're there. And especially for the tripods, there's a cheap version, kind of a middle of the road version, and then there's like my richest grandma died and this is the one that I want. This is the tripod that I can afford now. so yeah, all the stuff that I recommend is there. I'm kind of slow to update it just because I can't really test out everything, obviously, so I'm kind of slow to update it, so I'm getting there. But that's currently the stuff that I recommend right now. All right, so that's all the questions that we have. I think next week I'm going to skip some questions because I know I don't want to, just do a question and answer podcast. That's kind of boring. So I'm going to skip the questions next week, and we'll do another topic, and then we'll go back to the questions probably. But as always, I'm going to leave you with the widget of the week, and this one I look back through 4 months of podcasts and videos and stuff to make sure I haven't talked about this before, but call me out on it if I did, because I don't want to, kind of cheap you guys out on the widget of the week. But the widget of the week this week is actually a website, and it's DIYphotography.net. Every once in a while, I forget about this website, and then I'll go back I'll be like, oh, hey, they got some cool stuff out there. So I'll go back and look at the website. And all it is what it says. It's a DIY website for photography. So they teach you how to make really cool stuff, light stands. They teach you how to make, camera straps, all kinds of stuff. They teach you how to make all kinds of stuff, and it's usually, well, obviously it's way cheaper than buying a product, but then you can kind of play around and kind of come up with your own version. They do articles and stuff like that, and what is the other thing? They have another popular segment. I cannot remember it. But they do articles and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just only DIY. But some of the stuff they have on there are really, really good. So DIYphotography.net. I'll link that in the show notes like I always do. So that is the end of this week's podcast. Go check out everything that was on there. It's really good stuff. Thank you it is very late. Thank you everybody for your questions, and I'm going to go get some sleep and let this thing render and have fun, editing the podcast tomorrow. So thanks guys for joining me. It's always a great thing. Please remember to do the survey if you haven't already. Thank you to those who have. And that is about it. I think I'm going to go ahead and get off here. So thanks guys, and I will see you guys in the next podcast.